Come on! This is football! Come on! The 123rd pick of the NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Cade Stover, tight end, Ohio State!
I promise you guys are going to fall in love with Cade Stover. I know some of you are upset you didn't want a project tight end, whatever. You got questions about his blocking, we'll address that. But you're also asking, hey, Seth, CJ Stroud threw him the ball a bunch 2 years ago. Why didn't you have any CJ Stroud highlights? I got you covered. I had to get you warmed up. Here's CJ throwing to Cade Stover. So a lot to get excited about there. Right now, it's a lot easier to get excited about his work as a receiver, more so than as a blocker. Cade Stover has only been playing tight end for 2 full years as a committed tight end. Ryan Day worked to kind of cajole him over from linebacker to tight end, and it's been a work in progress when it comes to the blocking. And we'll discuss that later. I've got one of my old teammates from the Texans offensive lineman, Drew Hodgson, to discuss his blocking. CJ did make an interesting comparison when they were at Ohio State that I disagree with, but this was before CJ knew a whole lot about the NFL.
CJ compared you to Gronk last week. What do you think of that comparison?
I don't know. I like it, but I don't know. I love Gronk. I'm a huge Jeremy Shockey guy. That's my favorite tight end of all time. So I don't know. That's a very nice compliment by the fella right there.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know how many Gronks there are coming down the pike, but Cade Stover is 6'4", 250. Exact same as the listed height for George Kittle, who was a 5th-round pick into the Kyle Shanahan offense. So you can start to see where maybe some of those similarities in the minds of Bobby Slowick and others come into play. And I've got some George Kittle later to show as a guy that was a 5th-round pick who wasn't always a good blocker. When he was at Iowa, it took him a little bit for it to click. Cade Stover is going to work his butt off at blocking. As far as the Jeremy Shockey comparison, the run after the catch, I think, is where I would say the biggest similarity it is. Also, maybe the tattoos. Cade has added some tattoos since that interview from a couple years ago. It's nice for Ohio State people now with NIL not to worry about whether any tattoos were ill-begotten. They've got the money for this ink. They can get their ink on their own. But Jeremy Shockey, many of you might unfortunately remember, the first time he put on an NFL uniform was in the Hall of Fame game in 2002 when they were playing the Houston Texans in our first game ever. Jeremy Shockey catches the ball in flat breaks, 1 tackle, 2 tackles. I think we get a 3rd one. We get that. That's not a broken tackle. That's a murder. Finally, we take him down there. It was an inauspicious beginning to that season. But I do think the run after the catch and his willingness to bulldoze guys, you saw in some of those highlights, he's really got a nose for the end zone. For a guy who's only been playing tight end for a couple of years, there's a lot to like about some of the nuance in his route running. He's a little bit slow out of the gate at times. He has build-up speed, but I think some of what you see in his weaknesses, both as a receiver and as a blocker, come from a little bit of uncertainty and just not having grooved things in and seen the whole picture in front of him enough. They're banking on his work ethic, which we'll talk about. He's a farm kid. And like the old classic farm kids that you just don't see that many of anymore. You're up at dawn, you're working till 7 p.m. at night. There's just so much gushing about his work ethic from the guys at Ohio State, from Nick Caserio, D'Amico Ryans, that I think nobody doubts that he's going to work his butt off at blocking. It's just a matter of whether he can follow through with it and really learn all the nuances of it. As far as his love for C.J. Stroud, it knows no end.
He's the best player with the football in his hands I've ever seen in my life. And Justin's came through here. I've seen Chase Young come through here. The dude can put, and it's an unbelievable touch too. The ball never, like, sometimes when you catch a ball from people, like, it's like your hands will sting. Like, your hands don't sting with a blue ball. It is a soft, but it's got a little zip to it. And it's unbelievable. And we really came, to be honest, we became really close over the past summer and stuff. And it's been great getting to know him. I mean, he's from another part of the world, and for us to come together like that and play ball, I have all the respect in the world for that guy. I mean, he's a winner and he wants to win, so I'll ride with him any day of the week.
You guys who have watched this channel know that through C.J. Stroud, I've really gained an appreciation for Ryan Day and how much he stresses and focuses on team. You listen to these guys talk, and a lot of them are hitting the same themes that D'Amico Ryans always hits about commitment to the team. And I think they recruit kids that really want to take that on and believe it. So that's nice to see. I think he's going to be an easy and immediate culture fit. As far as him making the transition from linebacker to tight end, it's not one that you hear about all that often. I think more basketball players, which he was a very good basketball player in high school, but more basketball players make the transition to tight end in the NFL than there are linebackers who do it. And it doesn't quite seem to jibe, and you wonder about, okay, what's the athleticism, what's the hang up there, but he fought it for a long time. And here's Cade Stover explaining how it all came to be, along with his tight end coach Keenan Bailey from Ohio State.
Came in as linebacker, played a couple games at defensive end. Coach Day, he said, I think you could be an NFL tight end. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. So I hated tight end. I just couldn't figure it out. There's always something to learn, always a step you got to fix. All the nuances of the blocking, know where the ball is going to hit, your body-wise, your spacing-wise in the route game.
He wasn't feeling it. I just want to run and hit people and all that. He played linebacker in the Rose Bowl.
Keeper, nothing doing. Now it's Cade Stover that converted tight end. Seems to like playing linebacker. He does.
It was awesome. It was still to this day one of the most fun games of my life. It was that point where everything clicked, and that's when I was like, okay, like I can do this just on the offensive side of the ball.
So it's really interesting because I think what it amounts to is that, man, he had a chance to hit some people. He had a chance to really get back into football and get some playing time, which he hadn't had early on. And I think that's where he saw his opportunity that, all right, I just want to get out there and mix it up. And if my opportunity is going to be on the offensive side of the ball, then so be it. Dalton Schultz said some things about him in the press conference the other day that should make you feel really good about his willingness to do this.
I like him. He's a hardworking kid. He's very, eager to learn. I usually get to the meetings pretty early, but he beat me a couple times. But yeah, he's a good kid. I think he made some catches out there today that were nice. I'm excited to have kind of a young guy that's super, excited to just learn football, because he told me that. He's like, listen, I'm early playing this position. He told me, he's like, I'm literally just learning from you. So I'm excited for him.
And that's the fun part of the NFL. Dalton Schultz is now at an age where he can train his replacement. There's always room for more tight ends. But if you're a good dude in the NFL, you got young guys coming in that have talent, and you recognize that part of your value as a player is to help out the younger guys. So now when it comes to blocking, look, Cade Stover himself will tell you it is a work in progress. I had my friend and former teammate from the Texans, Drew Hodgson, take a look at some of his film and identify some of the areas he needs to work on. Drew sent me like 6 minutes of awesome stuff. I might use that for a separate video this weekend, but one of the big things he identified was just using the backside hand when he's blocking. I've got some examples of Cade Stover when he does it poorly. I've got some examples when he does it well, and we've got a picture-perfect example of how George Kittle, again, 6'4", 250, how he does it. But Drew saw a lot to like about him, and Drew is a stickler and would be the first to tell you that there's very few tight ends who actually do all this stuff.
When you go through and you're watching film of him specifically, one of those things that are on the list of must-haves when you're trying to be successful when you're blocking, especially at the tight end position, is maintaining control with the backside hand. He consistently, in the film that I looked at, was losing control of the backside hand, or it would lag. He would keep it behind the defender, especially when he was on the backside. Tight ends like George Kittle, he does a great job, whether at the point of attack, front side, backside, he knows his body position. So if he's going for a reverse shoulder block where he already has leverage and he's trying to effectively bait the defender into thinking that he's reaching and then coming back across with his body weight, he's only been able to do that because of all the blocks prior to that. He was sinking his backside hand and bringing it with him to get to the call side number of the defender. What he really just needs to work on, his footwork is not bad. His footwork's okay. He needs to get, of course, a little stronger, and you can say that for just about anybody in the league. Get stronger, get faster, get more efficient. What he needs to do is just make sure he's sinking the backside hand, especially on the backside, and keep his feet alive after he engages. The guy clearly has skills when he's in the open field. He seems to have decent hands. There's no reason to think that he can't work on it and develop these skills. They take time.
And not to harp too much on George Kittle and Cade Stover being similar body sizes, but look, it's the same offense. And George Kittle, when he dominates on a block, it's not through strength or power. It's through tenacity and technique. And I think that's where Bobby Slowick and D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio hope that there's that same tenacity and an ability to refine his technique so he can get to clips like you see with George Kittle. And I'll tell you, just from messing around in practice at times, you might think like, well, yeah, defense, offense, what's really the difference? What's the difference between taking on a block and blocking? It's big. Like everything you do as a blocker is kind of counterintuitive and non-instinctive. You got to teach your body to move in ways that just don't feel natural until it really, really gets grooved in. And I think that's why sometimes you see, even with offensive linemen, it takes a while in the NFL for them to get comfortable doing it. And it can be that much tougher if you've never blocked before in your life. Now, when it comes to the farming, I'm going to be fully honest here. I am biased as hell because I come from a farming background. And I think that it's one of the things that has helped me most in my life, and certainly as a football player, was that nothing I ever did on the football field felt nearly as difficult, two-a-days, wind sprints, whatever, as a lot of the days that you put in as a young kid on the farm. So I think there's certain assumptions sometimes people make about guys who grew up on a farm, and I think a lot of times they work out. And based on what all the coaches at Ohio State say, he seems like your classic farm kid. He's just going to do whatever you ask him to do, work his butt off, and he absolutely loves it, to the point where his dream was to buy a 400-acre farm near his family's farm in Ohio. And I don't know, with the NIL money, maybe he already did it. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. Here's Cade Stover back on the farm.
I like to share with people that come here really just the fact of how pure this lifestyle really is. As far as the way we raise cows, the way the cow's demeanor is towards us, the love we put into what we do here. I don't think anybody really understands, unless you do farm, that this is really the purest form of life you can get, in my opinion. When you produce an animal that is beautiful, or when you cut a field of hay that's beautiful, or you make something look nice, you raise a good crop that year. There's just something about the satisfaction of that and just the hard work that goes into it that you feel like I did that, and it looks great, and I'm proud of it. it's a great opportunity for us as people to be able to feed, all the customers that we do feed. We love everything about being able to be proud of what we put on people's plates, and we love doing it. This is the most important thing to me in my life, is this place and my family on this place. It's where you're raised, it's where you grow up, and I think there's some people that feel like they can't wait to get out of where they grew up at. But me, I can't wait to get back to where I grew up at.